Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, where right now code DNVR at signup is going to get you some special offers, like how a simple $5 bet on any winner throughout the NBA Finals is going to net you $150 in free bets. All you got to do is pick a winner through the NBA Finals. That's all you got to do. You also got to use code DNVR at signup for DraftKings Sportsbook. Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast. I am Patrick Lyons.
I'm Suzie Hunter. Patrick, how are you feeling after this is I feel like this is Groundhog's Day on the road right now.
You may need to get used to this. This can happen. This can happen. Rockies lose 7-3, unfortunately, to the Washington Nationals. First game in the nation's capital. 10 runs, but no home runs. Kind of a strange one.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not Coors Field, and apparently that's the only place people hit home runs.
That is true. That is true. We're going to try to, on this edition of the DNVR Rockies podcast and live show. Again, if you're not watching us live, head on over to the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube, whether you're watching live or after the fact. We've got pregame shows typically at noon, postgame shows right after. We're going to try to diagnose what's wrong with Germán Marquez, even though we've discussed it before. Let's kind of touch base again, see what's going wrong exactly with him, as he was not his best again today. Talk about that bullpen, a couple Rockies notes, Nats notes, and then, of course, check in on the rest of the National League West. How damning is this bout of play from the Rockies, who fall to 20-24? Bummer, especially considering they were 15-10 at one point. But at 4 games under 500, it's their lowest so far from the season. But as we will get to in a moment, it's only a couple games under 500. That's a positive. It's just really hurtful right now, the way it's been coming against teams like the Royals, the Pirates, and now the last place in the NL East, Washington Nationals.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, yeah, I think I said this yesterday. I'll echo it again today. It's so frustrating to lose these games that you kind of expect the Rockies to win, that you hope that they win. And now we're farther below 500 than we've been all season. And we're the only team below 500 in the National League West, which we'll get into when we dive into the West. But it's frustrating, and the Rockies right now are also 16-3 on the road, so it's feeling again like last year.
Are 6-13 on the road?
Did I say 13-6?
No, 16-3. It was your third guess.
Oh my gosh, I'm not okay.
I don't know. 6-13. 6-13 on the road.
The Rockies are 6-13 on the road. Let me redeem myself by saying the correct sentence. I'm okay. I'm gonna have some water.
There you go. Yes, that's a good idea. We're here to help the people. Master Banks needs some help right now. Maybe talking off of a ledge. I'll think of it like this, and again, we'll dive into this. There are a lot of things that are not going well for the Rockies right now, and for all of those things to be not going well, they're 4 games under 500. So that's something you can take some solace in. Does that mean they're going to turn it around? Does that mean they are going to be a postseason club? So much has to happen, so much that we don't really know about right now, so much that is even out of the Rockies' control. Obviously, it's very challenging in the NL West, and we'll get down to that in our final segment. But the bottom line remains is there's still plenty of room for growth. Number one being, the guy who coming into the season seemed like their ace. He did not get the ball on opening day. It was Kyle Freeland. A lot of that had to do with Freeland being ready with the strange lockout and the abbreviated spring training. And another piece of it had to do with Marquez not being in the spot he needed to be to get ready. And so my hope was that because he didn't come to camp almost already in that mode you want to be on that first day when pitchers and catchers report, it was going to take him a little bit longer to figure it out. And he's still not there yet, but there are some positives to it.
There are some positives, but his fastball location has been erratic, and that's the biggest issue. And of course, we have to wonder if this is a confidence issue, a focus issue. We got 2 different answers from Buddy and Germán when we asked them about this during one of his not so great outings in Denver.
Yeah, so he's missing in the zone. We had those 2 walks in the first
Mhm.
inning where he gave up those 4 runs, and then after that he only gave up 1 run. So that's positive. He got it out of his system and then was able to figure it out. This Washington Nationals team is, despite the fact that they are in last place in the NL East, we know they've got some serious bats in the lineup. Really, it might only be the 3 guys. It might only be Juan Soto, Josh Bell, and Nelson Cruz, but they do incredibly well at 313 against the
Mhm.
fastball entering tonight. They put the ball in play, which is another element to their game. And when you put the ball in play, you never know what's going to happen. And with the Rockies defense right now kind of being on the downside, unfortunately, good things are going to happen for the Nats. So that was one of those unfortunate confluence of events. But bottom line is
A
you have to be able to beat a team.
confluence of events. Oh my gosh. What are we
You,
back in Pittsburgh?
you still need to. There you go. All right. Do you know? We won't get into the geography because I think there's probably a river that you don't know. Do you know all 3 of your rivers?
No, that's what I got wrong in the fourth grade geography bee.
Okay, you knew the Ohio River
The Ohio Allegheny.
and everyone's favorite, the Monongahela.
That one, yeah. You see, I told you, I that's what I got wrong, and I never figured it out. I didn't think Pittsburgh was a real place.
And it's not just a geography lesson, too. It is also a sports reference because, of course, the Steelers and the Pirates used to play in that concrete donut known as Three Rivers Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So
There we go.
you you like that, yeah. Now, again, as you said, with the confidence and focus being one of those things, last year it was that maybe certainly not confidence because, once you made that all-star team, had a nice 1-2-3 inning there against the American League in front of the hometown crowd. He had the confidence. Maybe it was the focus that wavered, and you would see that go on for 2, 3, sometimes maybe even 4 starts. But you saw that Germán Marquez was a guy that has the ability to be a true ace, not the ace or best pitcher on a pitching staff. That is different. Ace means one of the top 10 pitchers, maybe 15 in all of baseball. And we haven't seen that from him at all. Instead of it being, a handful of starts and then he rights the ship, it's been an inning, right? It's been a big inning, usually at the front end
Mm-hmm.
of the game. And then he kind of settles in just a little bit. But that's still a big piece. You can't just totally write off an inning from every single start and say, well, what would his ERA be now if you did that? Because if you did that for all pitchers, I think that would help skew the numbers. And then you still might be sitting at one of the worst ERAs in all of baseball right now. He still has an ERA over 6, second worst in all of MLB. That is, of course, with qualified pitchers. So we're not talking about
Mm-hmm.
relievers at all.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't afford to give up a whole inning of good pitching. So yeah, it's disappointing that the guy that we thought could be the ace is now doing one of the worst jobs this season.
Yeah, very true. We can, on the flip side, to what do they say? Not peanut butter and jelly, but constructive criticism sandwich, right? You say something nice, you give a little criticism, and then something nice. Although I don't know that it'll be perfectly like that. It might be more of an open-faced sandwich because we had
Yes.
we had to lead with the bad stuff first, of
Yeah,
course.
gotta get
But a
it out
nice,
of the way.
but a nice thing, Connor Joe extended his on-base streak there. You liked him being able to do that. Got it late. I think that might have been in his 4th plate appearances. So that's certainly a really positive thing. For this team going forward is just being able to get on base, try to get something going. They hit the 3 double plays, and so that can be definitely a rally killer of sorts. But tip of the cap to Connor Joe there.
Yeah. The other thing that I love about Connor Joe is that every time we tweet an update on Connor Joe's on base streak, because of course, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm very active on our Twitter account, especially during games. But at least one person will reply and be like, everyone's favorite Rocky. I'm like, all right, let's go.
He is. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, where I talked to a couple young people that I bumped into that were in Rockies
Mhm.
paraphernalia, and I was like, who's your favorite Rocky? Like, right now, it'd probably be Connor Joe. And it's like, wow, like this guy. I don't even know that he has 81 games. I don't think he even has like a half of a season by
Mhm.
games under his belt with the Rockies. So, and I'll say this for again one of the comments that we have in our chat. Again, if you're watching live, go ahead and throw some stuff into the chat. You can even do so afterwards, and we'll go back and see some of those comments, talk
Mhm.
about it in the podcast. talk about it in our members only Discord, which you can get if you are a member of the dnvr.com, now only 50 cents for your first month. But if the question is, hey, what do you do at the end of the season with this roster? The season's not over yet. We're 2 months into the season. And again, it's very frustrating. And I think we can all see where this season goes. And I think we can all see that, you know what, maybe this team is very similar to the one that they ran out last year. And maybe the win total will be somewhat identical, and they'll play strong at home and they'll struggle on the road, and it may be identical. Yes, there might even be a strong likelihood of that, a strong correlation to something like that happening. But until it does, it's hard to necessarily speculate. At the trade deadline, though, we certainly could be a fantasy GMs. I mean, Suzie, I'm sure, would love to be the next Kim Ang in that capacity and
Yes.
go and be the GM, make some trades. I don't know if we'll need a graphic for that officially, but you'll have the opportunity to be the GM at some point if this thing
Yes.
cannot course correct.
I actually, not to dive into my dream journal, but I had I think it was a nightmare the other night where I had to put together the lineup, and it was like full of a bunch of guys that like I didn't know. Like it was like half Rockies and then like half. So anyway, I had a nightmare about this the other night.
There you go. What did you do? Was there any resolution in this
I was
nightmare?
like, okay, I'm gonna have Connor Joe at leadoff, and and then like I was just like, okay, like where are the guys that I know? And
You just turn around and looking for some jerseys. And number 12, I got to have you hitting second. I got to have you setting the table here after Connor Joe. 43, dude, you're a big guy. You know you got to be hitting number 3 for me. And you're like, Susie, I'm the closer. I'm like, I know it's gonna catch him by surprise. So you got to improvise a little bit when you're a manager and you don't know who your players are. So that does make sense.
I've had some really weird dreams lately.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was one of the weirder ones.
That can happen when you're sleep deprived or when you're stressed, particularly about the state of the Colorado Avalanche. They're going to have to go to game 6. It's almost a must-win game. And, we're going to be having that blasting on all the televisions. One of the best places to be if you can't get a ticket, in St. Louis. You could just go right in your backyard to the DNVR bar in the corner of Colfax, New York, where you get, as a member, a member-sized beer, that mega pint. You get access, as we said, to the members-only Discord, extra raffle tickets at all of the watch parties to win free gear. And again, it's only 50 cents for your first month. You get a free shirt if you want to go in with the annual membership from dnvrlocker.com. Discounts and price breaks on tailgates, party bus. We're trying to work on something like that to go out to a Rockies game. I know that would be a lot of fun. And what's undoubtedly a lot of fun before, during, and after is your experience at Lightshade, Colorado's premier dispensary. Got a great selection of cannabis concentrates, top shelf flower, edibles, tinctures, accessories, and more. 11 in the Denver metro area. Easy to find and one easy product to pick up for you, especially as you go out and about, do more hiking or yard work, depending on your situation, is those relief and recovery creams from Escape Artists. It's been awarded as the highest awarded topical brand in Colorado, since it prioritizes quality and consistency and can help penetrate for deep muscle tissue discomfort. I use it on my knees after a long run, and they definitely feel much better in the morning after a good night's rest. And they don't stain my sheets, my shorts, my sweatpants, you name it. It doesn't do that. It's not a greasy product. You can pick it up, as I said, at any of 11 Denver metro area Lightshade locations. And when you go there, use code DNVR for 25% off all non-sale items. Shop online at lightshade.com for your pickup or visit a Lightshade location near you. And if you do want to just sit at home with your Lightshade and you don't want to leave the house, maybe you're not in the Denver area, but you are in the Rocky Mountain region, go to evoca.tv/DNVR so that you can watch the Nuggets and Avalanche in the comfort of your own home, even the Colorado Rockies, so that if it comes to the point where you are crying over a Stanley Cup victory or another Colorado Rockies loss, you can do it in the comfort of your own home with Evoca TV. Evoca.tv/DNVR. It's $25 per month, no hidden fees or contracts. There is a cost of a receiver, but your price gets locked in for 2 years. You never have to worry again with Evoca TV. Also, use code DNVR on top of visiting evoca.tv/DNVR, and you get an extra $10 off the first 3 months. So now it's only $15 to start for the first quarter of the year. It's a pretty good deal.
That is a good deal. And also, we are on Evoca TV. You can watch us.
True.
We're
That's what
TV
you
stars.
I know if you're watching this live or you're watching this on one of the replays, I'm very curious of our time slots. If we go on at like 1 a.m. on a replay, if maybe we're the last show before, it goes to snow and it goes to the national anthem. Are you aware that at one point when before there
Yes.
were a bunch of cable, yes, you don't
Yeah.
have to be old enough to know, but you can get those references, like how some people when they say call me on the phone, they make this hand gesture. That's why you got to be over on DNVR Sports Channel on YouTube. Whereas the
But
young
kids
people
today
look at
do
the phone.
this.
They do that. I wish I could describe what Susie's doing. You have to watch us live. That's the trick there on that. The trick with the bullpen right now is they've been a little bit unlucky. Now, I have to preface this by saying they did enter tonight's game. Didn't really hurt themselves too much. Bullpen was okay. Ty Block allowed a runner on base, free base with the walk. That did come around to score, but 5.09 worst ERA in MLB in the month of May. 5.29 ERA, but only fourth worst in baseball. And I thought, hey, you know what? Here's a time to get into sabermetrics for anyone that's kind of interested in, like, all right, break down some of these nerdy stats. Got a really cool opportunity talking with Miles and Blake, two cool young dudes who are proud baseball nerds. They're into the analytics. They might not officially call themselves nerds, but two really good guys that I was really happy to meet. Big Rockies fans, and they're into all this stuff. And so now might be a good opportunity to explain the difference between earned run average, which I think we all understand. That's the runners that score that are earned, because sometimes what'll happen is a fly ball has hit to center field. It bonks off Jonathan Daz's head, and then that runner gets to third base. Or let's say he even just scores, and it looks like an inside the park home run, but really that should have just been an out. You strike out the next two guys. Well, guess what? That run wouldn't have scored if Jonathan Daza would have made that catch, right? So although a run scored on the scoreboard, the pitcher is not charged. It doesn't go against him, and so that's I think a pretty fair system for understanding how successful a pitcher is doing. Wouldn't you say, Susie?
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. You were such a listen. We gotta build out the Patty Stats segments. I've got ideas, but
This would be Patty Stats Explains. So, all right, we understand earned run average, but now
mhm.
what if that ball that I said bonks off of Jonathan Daz's head? Let's say it doesn't fall off his head, but let's say he trips in the outfield trying to get a baseball. And that happens, let's say, a couple times a game, or even just once in an inning with a runner on base. Now that's going to be an earned run, right? Because no one made an error. So you
Mhm.
say, well, the pitcher needs to do better than that. So there's a statistic called fielding independent pitching, FIP.
Mhm.
And that looks at the three things a pitcher can control, right? Because a pitcher can't control where the defense is positioned, or if it's a speedy center fielder in a good placement, or if you've got three guys in your outfield like the Philadelphia
Mhm.
Phillies, which I think you know a little bit about how frustrating that could be if you're a pitcher and there's a fly ball that probably would get caught by 80% of the outfielders. But if you got Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber in center field, I don't know, maybe Bob Boone's in left field, Darren Dalton's in center. I don't know the defensive alignment, but it's not good in the outfield, right?
Yeah. Are we really talking about the Phillies right now and how hilarious they are? Because they're doing exactly what I said that they were going to do.
There was a play that was so crazy that I think I blocked it out of my memory because I couldn't even like wrap my head around. Oh, I know what it was. It was the Odubel Herrera. He got an on a stolen base attempt. The center fielder got an error. Well, I'll talk about that another time. So earned run average, we know, is you say, all right, well, that was fair or unfair because the defense made an error. Well, there are some things that statistics can't show. And so fielding independent pitching is based on the three things a pitcher can control: walking a batter, okay, it's in the pitcher's
Mhm.
control, striking out a batter, or giving up a home run, right? Defense is not
Mhm.
involved in that. And so there's actually a formula that you could use using those three statistics: walks, strikeouts, and home runs, to say, okay, based on this, here's what a pitcher's ERA should be. And oftentimes in Colorado, because of the how prone pitchers can be, or how prone the baseball is to traveling out of the ballpark, then you've got pitchers that unfortunately have a higher ERA than they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Well, going beyond that is something called expected fielding independent pitching, because not all home runs are created equal. We know about Would It Dong, right?
Yeah,
We know
great
about
account.
that. Oh, it's great. And you go, well, wait a minute, that's a home run here, and it looks like an earned run, and it also would contribute towards the fielding independent pitching, but it wouldn't towards expected fielding independent pitching because it looks at home run to fly ball rates. So it
Mm-hmm.
crunches all those things. And ultimately what that does is it just gives you an idea of who's a little bit lucky and who's had a bit of bad luck. And when it comes to the Rockies bullpen, their expected fielding independent pitching is a 4.10. And you go, actually, a 4 ERA is a whole run better than the 5.09 they've got right now through the first 2 months of the season. So
Mm-hmm.
they're a little bit unlucky. Now, based around the rest of the league, it's still ninth worst, but it's not worst overall like ERA or fourth worst like fielding independent pitching. So those are those statistics you look at as trends and say, hey, this guy, he's acting like he's an ace, but he's been a little bit lucky, or the opposite.
Patrick,
He's had a little bit of bad luck.
that was so much build up to all to just say the bullpen has been unlucky. That is just, I love that explainer though. You and Eric need to get together and do like a graphics video explainer, like a whiteboard thing. That needs to happen. I think a lot of people would find value in that.
I think so. And again, it's a way of contextualizing things. Like, again, the bullpen is now no longer a world beater, but it is a little bit better than what the end results are. And so that maybe makes you feel a little bit better. It does let you know, like, okay, hey, the law of averages say they're going to have some things going their way. There'll be a point in which they have the same FIP or XFIP, and their ERA will actually be better than that because they've been lucky. So those things will balance out, and hopefully they balance out in some big NL West games rather than these games that are not in the same division or even in the same league. And you go, all right, you got to win those games, but you know what? It's worth it's 2 times. It's a double victory if you can beat teams like the Padres, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Giants. I'm just showing off that I know all the teams in the West.
Look at you. You know all these stats and you can name the teams.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm a true baseball man. I'm a baseball man. Hey, what did you like the play from the Nats tonight? Was there anybody that stood out or anything that was surprising on there? And again, no one hit a home run, so it's just kind of a weird statistical anomaly to look at and say, oh man, this guy raked. I think Josh Bell maybe had 2 hits, but other than that, everyone did a little bit of something. Did anything jump out at you about the Nats players?
Everyone did a little bit of something, but Juan Soto didn't do anything. AKA my pick for NL MVP. So he didn't do much of anything. I was surprised by that. He was 0-3 today.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, with Juan Soto, I mean, it's very much the, as Chris Berman would say, in regards to Barry Sanders, 2 names that probably go over a lot of people's heads who listen to this. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. And so, you know what? They contained Juan Soto, just the one walk. And like you said, he was 0 for 3. I thought Patrick Corbin was all right. I mean, he's been really bad all season long, except his complete game performance in Colorado. It was a complete game, but it was only 8 innings.
It's a complete game, still lost. But I noticed this earlier. Patrick Corbin hasn't gotten a win since September, I think 23rd of 2021. Yeah.
So his record is 0-5. He doesn't have any wins this year?
He was 0-6 going into this game.
Wow, I didn't really realize that.
Going into this, he was 0-7 going into this game. So now he's 1-7. But yeah, he has not won a game since September 23rd in Cincinnati last year.
That's legit a stat to like keep an eye on because, he got the win tonight, so that snaps that. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on because we know, again, Nationals are still rebuilding, and there's been conversation about Juan Soto getting traded, which is interesting. I don't think it'll happen during the season. You wait to the off season because more teams will be interested, right? At the trade deadline, the Rockies might be 5 games under 500, and they're going to go, "What? No, we're not going to acquire Juan Soto." But in the off season, they might say, "Hey, you know what? we might want to go after this guy. So when you have a big player like that, you want to do it in the offseason rather than at the trade deadline. But Josh Bell is going to be a free agent after this year. Nelson Cruz has, I believe, a 1-year deal. So as their ace, he's going against the team's best pitchers or number 2, right? Marquez is the number 2 guy. So
Mm-hmm.
he could pitch even okay, but if the other, the opposing starter is even better, he could end up, with, I think the last guy to have 20 losses was Mike Maroth of the Detroit Tigers, maybe
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Okay, I'll take your
2003.
word for it.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
It's
Sounds good
before I
enough.
was born, so.
A little bit. Did you find it interesting that Keibert Ruiz was batting second for the Rockies, or excuse me, for the Nationals today? The catcher was hitting second.
Yeah, because
That's
that
strange.
is quite unusual. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with the Rockies a couple times. It's just rare in general for catchers to bat at the top of the order like that.
That's true. Yeah, I went in and did a little deep dive just to see if that had ever happened. I figured once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
And technically it was once or twice. Only 7 catchers had ever batted second for the Rockies. Right now, modern day players, JT Realmuto is that guy for the Phillies. I think Wilson Contreras has done it a bunch with the Cubs, but Joe Girardi was that guy. I know the lineups. I know who was in the field for those, a handful of first years back when they were at Mile High, in 93, 94. And of course, the first year of Coors Field, Joe Girardi was there. But I didn't necessarily know that he had hit second in Don Baylor's lineup 85 times over those 3 years, which is a lot, for a catcher. And he wasn't even a speedy catcher like a Jason Kendall.
That is pretty funny. And it's funny now that, his catcher on the team that he manages does it every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very true. It's cool when Elias Diaz is up batting cleanup, and I like those weird anomalies where this position, like a first baseman hitting leadoff, just it doesn't happen. So when Connor Joe is playing first base and hitting leadoff like that always gets me hyped up.
Hyped, yes.
And
the things
if
that
there's
you get
anything,
hyped about are hilarious.
look, we need to get hyped over certain things when it comes to the Rockies, but you definitely don't need to get hyped for the American Raptors because they are one of the top rugby clubs in the country. They're legit. These are top athletes who've played professionally in football, basketball, wrestling, track and field, you name it. They are learning the sport of rugby. Now, this almost sounds bad, oh yeah, you can just learn rugby and then represent the United States in the Rugby World Cup. It sounds kind of crazy, we think of those 10,000 hours that you have to build up, right, in a sport or any kind of discipline, and you go, all right, I guess these guys are gonna be rugby stars, but it's true, right? It happens. It's like what is it? The downhill, not downhill skiing, bobsled, the
Yeah.
skeleton in the Winter Olympics. That's not a sport that I think maybe unless in your local community. At the local JCC, they had downhill bobsled. It doesn't exist. Kids can't do that. So you have to learn it as an adult. And you get top athletes to do that when it comes to the bobsled. You do that when it comes to rugby. And they're actually doing it right in our very own backyard down in Glendale at Infinity Park. You can learn more about that at AmericanRaptors.com. You can check out our guy, Colton Strickler, on the DNVR Rugby podcast. He's dropping info each and every week on the pod. He's got interviews with top athletes and coaches. It's fantastic. You can get betting tips on this year's Super Rugby. All that and more at AmericanRaptors.com.
Seamless
What
transition.
are your top? I think so. What are your top 5 favorite rugby players who sound like they should be baseball players? I'll let you go first, and then I'll do all mine.
Yeah. Dialogue.
Well, I guess I'm not going to be able to unveil my list then, since you didn't have any, because I did have a list.
You got to
I don't
save
know
that for
anything
the
about
rugby
rugby.
podcast.
I don't know anything about rugby.
We're not a rugby podcast. We're not a wrestling podcast. Let's reel it in.
Well, technically we are a wrestling podcast, and I do listen to the DNVR Rugby podcast. I haven't necessarily retained it. I think it's because once I go out to Infinity Park, and I start seeing some of the players a little bit, put matching faces to names, watching more of the Super Rugby going on throughout the summer, I think I'll be able to have my hot takes on rugby.
I'm looking forward to a spreadsheet of your rugby stats for when you guest co-host the rugby podcast.
Are there even stats? Like, do they keep score, or do they just say, "Hey, you guys were clearly better than us"? I don't know. I didn't.
Go by bruises. Like,
I,
I don't know.
yeah, I need to submit a question to Colton and say like, "Hey, if you do a mailbag, do you guys keep score?" I don't hear enough about keeping score. But here are some hot takes though. We got to update you on two injured Rockies players. Chris Bryant, I mean, good news is all relative. He was in attendance at the ballpark, traveling with the team, which you like him, him being there, being a clubhouse presence. Did have a game of catch, or he played catch, depending on what side of the fence you stand on that one. I don't know if you're a big proponent of that, and have you're a staunch supporter of one or the other. Play catch or have a catch.
Uh, I mean, I lean more towards play catch.
Yeah.
But I feel like Chris Bryant probably had a catch.
Yeah. So I would play catch, but then I would have doctor, as opposed to where most kids would play doctor and have a catch. I went the opposite way on that. But we haven't talked to any doctors when it comes to Chris Bryant. It's just he's playing catch, and the question is like, when do we hit the panic button on his bat? Like, when is he coming back? It's hard to know.
Yeah, you know what? With him back on the IL with this back issue that we just don't understand the source of it, we don't know how to fix it. I'm wondering, I'm like, are we even going to have him? We're at the quarter life crisis right now. Are we even going to have him back for the midlife crisis?
Yeah. And again, that's the silver lining of it all is you look and you go 4 games under 500. Oh my God, the rest of the division is playing incredibly well. And we'll get into that here and now, and just we're only 2 minutes away. We're teasing it. 2 minutes away here from getting to why the West was won. And you go, well, everything seems to be going right for a lot of other teams. And I wouldn't say a lot's going wrong for the Rockies, but there's enough, like Chris Bryant being on the IL. And so we'll see how they respond if Elihuris Montero is that guy. That's kind of what I'm thinking. That could be the guy that moves the needle. Another guy that could help move the needle in the rotation. Not like they're really suffering that badly, but Antonio Senzatella, we got some pretty good news about what he's doing in his rehabilitation process.
Yeah, he's going to make a rehab start in Albuquerque on Friday. So he's going to pitch 5 innings or 75 pitches, depending on the situation. And if it goes well, he'll be on the IL for a minimum of 15 days. So that sounds pretty promising to me, trending in the right direction. But yeah, you mentioned it's not like everything is going wrong, but like enough things have gone wrong with having these two guys out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And he's probably already been on the IL for at least a week at this point. It's hard. The days definitely blur together, but he'll make that rehab start. He'll be back at least in one of those starts, either that final game against the Marlins or at some point in Atlanta. I don't know. Maybe he'll be wearing the City Connect jerseys. Hey, there's some good news. When you're listening to this, if you're listening to this as a podcast, today's the day that you will learn whether or not the Rockies City Connect uniforms involve green pants. I'm not saying if they are or aren't. They could. We're just saying that it could be. Yeah.
I'm so excited to see them. I feel like this is Christmas Eve as we're recording this on Thursday night, the eve of when we see these City Connect jerseys. I'm so excited.
My question is this. So my take on the City Connect jerseys has been they either look great on the street, because that's the concept, right? Connecting with this city, the people actually in the town, in the city. It look better like when they unveil it, and then when they wear it on the field, it loses some of its luster. It doesn't look as good on the field. Or the reverse is true. What do you want more, to look better on the players, or for people to feel better about it and go, damn, I look good in this? And I don't know what the right answer is. It's a chicken or the egg.
Oh, ooh, good question.
I think I do know the answer. I think I do know the answer now, but I think I figured it out. All right, but go ahead.
I feel like the Rockies would rather have the City Connect jersey look good on the players, because that'll push more jerseys. Because if they look like garbage on the players, people might not want to buy them. That being said, I mean, we've seen the socks, so I mean, we're guessing that there's going to be some kind of green component. I think that'll look good on the field and on people in real life. So the Rockies might be the first team to just like nail it on both sides.
That's 100% the right take. Cause I want it to be better for the fans. Like I want the fans to rock it and be like, man, this is stylish. This looks good. But you aren't going to wear something that's stylish if the team is disappointing, right? Or if it looks bad on them. I'm
Yeah.
just curious with, again, depending on the exact colors, if they're green with the grass, if there's a play against the wall, you see Charlie go back up, catch it, and you got the green grass in front of him. He splashed up against a green wall. You got like a purplish advertisement. He's going to like blend in and you're going to go, where is there a player there? It's going to look like camouflage. It's going to look like outfield wall camouflage. And it's just going to look like a floating beard with a leather mitt and a baseball in it. And you're not going to be able to detect anything. But that would be cool. That would be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah, with that color scheme that we're guessing in our heads, yeah, like that would absolutely be camouflage. It would be great for, color coordination, but we're going to have guys bumping into each other. What's going to happen? Oh, that would be like worst case scenario.
Did you know that originally one of the ideas for uniforms was that each position on the field would wear a different color uniform?
Gosh.
Legit. And then they really quickly realized, like, no, this is a stupid idea. Also, guys change positions, so they squashed that really quickly. But it does make me think, like, okay, well, if Charlie's in right and he needs to blend in camouflage wise, like he needs almost like a chainmail jersey, so it looks like the out of town scoreboard, it has like the chain link, like he'll just kind of blend in, and the batter will be looking like, all right, how much do I got to go to right center? Do I want to pull this down the line? I don't see a right fielder out there because Charlie's just blending in. He looks like he's part of the fence.
Oh my gosh.
These are ideas I have.
You have so many ideas. It always impresses me.
And that one didn't even come from a spreadsheet, so it's even more special. Speaking of special, let's figure out not how the NL West was won, but why the West was won.
I still shout out to you here for making this graphic before, because I love this. And yeah, we're going to dive into the NL West and what's going on. And we've got cowboy hats. Thank you, Kale, for making this happen, because I am stoked about these. If you're watching us on YouTube, you get to enjoy the cowboy hats that have been CGI'd onto our heads.
Yeah, I mean, I fit in pretty well, other than my T-shirt saying Cooperstown on it, which I don't think the Cowboys in the Wild Wild West would wear. My mustache really goes nicely. I just need a piece of wheatgrass or a toothpick in my mouth, a cigarello. Let's go.
Let's go. I can't wait to get the screenshots of this.
I think it'll look good. I think it'll look good.
Anyway, so these are production notes that the podcast listeners do not need to hear. But yeah, what a nice little behind the scenes thing. All right, let's talk about the West. Do we start at the top?
Let's start at the top with the Los Angeles Dodgers of Los Angeles. Is that their official name?
That is their official name, as far as I know. Okay. But what do I know? Well, the Dodgers doing pretty well. Of course, they're leading the NL West. They are 29-14. They are 8-2 in the last 10. And even on their off days, they are still on it. And I expected this, and it's happening. Here it is.
Yeah. We're the reason we say why the West was won is we'll look at some information, some data, some fun facts, and say, well, this is a good reason why this team is legit. And I think the reason why they are obviously legit, we talked about it, probably the last time we did why the West was won was some of their players hadn't really heated up, and they're starting to heat up on Mookie Betts' off day. On his day off, he still had to go into work. Cody Bellinger was too sick to play, so he jumps in and just hits 2 home runs. And
casual.
Yeah, and going into today's game on Thursday, he had scored 44 runs in 43 games. So he's on pace for more than 162 runs, which would be pretty darn impressive.
That number like gives me like feelings in my chest. Like that is like good for him. Good for him. I mean, he's a nice guy. But yeah, that is the third most in franchise history and the most in Dodgers history through 43 games. So
That's impressive. Now,
it's pretty
if you
cool.
if you wanted something, again, we got to give you some water cooler. These hats are going to stay here the whole time, huh?
Yeah, they are.
We got we got to give you some water cooler material and say, well, you know what? Everyone says the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, this, that, and the other. Okay, well, let's give you something that'll make you say, oh, here's why the Dodgers are not going to win it all. Here's a major flaw, and it does have to do with the two teams we were watching tonight, the Nationals and Rockies. Dodgers actually lost on Wednesday night to the Nationals. 1-0, got shut out. It was their first time in 73 games. And it was the first time they've been shut out since a 5-0 loss to the Colorado Rockies on October 29, 2021. So Nats and Rockies are shutting out the Dodgers. Seriously, they've got some major flaws. They suck.
Yeah, of course they are. I would also like to note though that they have the biggest run differential in MLB by a lot. They've got a run differential of 101.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that's actually before we had a meeting earlier before you got there. That's what the guys were asking me about. They're like, "Oh, what about these Dodgers?" I'm like, "I know."
They just heard of them too, right?
They just heard of them. Yeah, they're not baseball guys.
That's why we knew we had to talk about it. That's why we got to talk about it.
Of
Shout out
course.
to everyone else at DNVR that are like, hey, Dodgers, that's a thing, right? Yeah, they
That's
are.
the thing. Um, Trey Turner has a 17 game hitting streak.
Yeah, yeah, he's playing well. Has had multiple 15 plus game hitting streaks this season. I think I saw something like going back to last year when they acquired him. There's he has all of the 15 plus game hitting streaks on the team. So yeah, no, he's Dodgers are legit, obviously, but there's another team out west that is challenging. It's not too far behind.
Yeah, the Padres are actually in second place right now. They are 28 and 16. They're just 1.5 games back. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They won 3 at home against Pittsburgh, so they can beat Pittsburgh. Rockies apparently cannot. Yeah, and of course we'll be seeing them soon enough. Of course, we have not seen them yet, which is weird.
So weird, right? So weird.
Mhm.
One of the, I really thought the Padres were suspect. Obviously, they had all of the key elements there, even without Tatis Jr.
Mhm.
But something that really makes me take pause and I say, here's a reason why they can win the West. We know what their manager Bob Melvin is able to do, push in
Mhm.
all the right buttons. Outfielder Jose Azocar became the first Padre since former Rocky Nick Hundley back in 2013.
Okay.
He entered the game as a sub and then still ended up recording 2 hits, including a walk-off. So like the Padres just have this mojo right now, and everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing their job, and those kind of things add up. Like we've been saying, if the Rockies can hold on long enough through June and get into July, Bill Schmidt can work a little bit of magic, and then even more magic can happen in the second half of the season. So the Padres, they are making their own magic right now, and it's looking pretty good for them.
It is looking good for them. They had a great comeback win on Monday against Milwaukee. Um, they have so they're MLB tying for 12 comeback wins this year. They're tied with the Yankees. But yeah, they have
So
they're the comeback kids this season.
can't count them out.
Can't count them
Cannot
out.
count them out. Yeah, and they're playing well in one-run games as well. 10-4 going into Thursday's game. It's the highest winning percentage in one-run games. So, man, they are going to be annoying again this year. They haven't been annoying to the Rockies yet because, like you said, they haven't played. I think there's only been one
Mhm.
series against the Dodgers, uh, and so it's been kind of quiet in general. It's easy to ignore them, but oh boy, they're playing them 5 times in a 4-day span, I think, at in the beginning of August. So that's kind of unique. 5-game series in 4 days.
Yeah, that is this schedule's so weird this year. It's so weird.
And then they spend the entire month of October in Los Angeles. Well, we've mentioned that already, I think.
We
Shoot.
have, yeah. But yeah, those the Padres. We'll keep an eye on them.
Giants in third place at 24-19, 5 games back. 4-6 in their last 10. I think they had a 5-game losing streak. They've won 2 in a row going into Thursday's play. They go to Cincinnati for 3, who Cincinnati is red hot. They scored 4,000 runs, I think, on Thursday, which may be a record. I'm not sure. There were some good Yankees teams in the late 90s that I think that scored, 5,000 runs. I'm not sure, but they're getting contributions from everybody. Jock Peterson had that big 3-home run game, 8 RBI on Tuesday. And the reason why they're going to win, they can pull out all the stops. Obviously, it's a beautiful ballpark, but you can see the top of my skull without my cowboy hat now.
No.
But
yeah, the hats disappeared real fast.
but they are another one of those franchises that have that kind of juice where when they need it, they bring somebody into the clubhouse and say, "Hey, winning culture, winning World Series, fan base, blah blah blah." And they got that with Barry Bonds, who talked up Jock Peterson before the game. Boom, goes out, has the first 3-home run game for a Giant player since Kung Fu Panda Pablo Sandoval back in game 1 of the 2012 World Series. Had himself a splash hit, which,
yes,
according to my spreadsheet, made him the first player to ever have a splash hit. That means hit a homer into McCovey Cove. First player to do it with 3 different teams. That's pretty cool.
Congratulations to Jock Peterson. That is an incredible stat, Patrick. So congratulations to you too.
This isn't a stat. This is a fun fact. Did you know his dad's in Colorado Springs right now?
No.
Why, I mean, why would you? Of course.
But I
right,
didn't. I don't follow him on Instagram, so I didn't know him.
Stu Peterson. I'm sure he probably just Stu Peterson on Instagram. No, his father's the hitting coach for a Pioneer League club that plays the Rocky Mountain Vibes and the Northern Colorado Owls. So that was a kind of neat little fun fact. I ended up learning this last week. Stu Peterson, hitting coach of the Glacier Ridge Riders of Kalispell, Montana. So it's one of the brand new teams. They've got a cool logo.
The Glacier Ridge Riders. That's what it is?
Yeah, so they play in Kalispell, but I guess is it near like Glacier National Park? Is that in Montana? I don't know. But that's the name. It's kind of like, so it's like, again, Rocky Mountain Vibes. They're in Colorado Springs, but they use, the general area. So I think that's what they went with. Yeah.
All right. I didn't realize Montana identified as a glacier, but good for them.
I think so.
Good for them.
Go Stu Peterson.
You know what? Why? So we've talked about why the Giants will win. Maybe they won't win. They gave up 12 runs on Tuesday to the Mets. Oh, but wait, they still won. Never mind.
Oh,
they can't lose. Forget it.
I was like, yeah, you know what? We need to say why some of these teams are going to fall back to the pack a little bit. And yeah, that's a great point that they came back and won a game like that. That was the Jock Peterson game, in fact. So that was their first time winning a game, giving up 12 runs since 1993, where they did win 90. They won 103 games that year, and were kind of partially the reason why we got the wild card. Wild card was supposed to come in 1994. Strike happened, so that didn't go down. But they were already working on the whole wild card idea. It was when Atlanta won. I think they won 105. I'm not sure in 93. But the Giants won 103. We had never seen a 100 win team not make the postseason. So of course they had to fix that for the San Francisco Giants.
Wow. Fun facts with Patrick.
All right, we have to find some dirt on this final team here in the NL West. We've got to, and I don't know if we did.
So the D-backs are in 4th place. They are 23-22. So just a game above 500. They're 7 games back. They are 5-5 in their last 10, but they've won 2 straight. And they are about to host the Dodgers. So yeah, the D-backs they're doing better than the Rockies, which is a thing that surprised me.
That's another question that it could be a poll, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
Again, you can reach out to us on Twitter at Patrick D. Lyons, at the Suzie Hunter, or email us, Patrick at the DNVR or Susie at the DNVR. What would you rather this weekend? So you've got these two teams going head to heads, 4 games. So forget a 2-2 split. Let's say a straight up sweep. Do you want the Dodgers to lose 4 games so that obviously impacts them negatively at the top of the NL West? Or are you thinking, well, look, Rockies are just not in the same class as the Dodgers. And I think we can admit that. I think we know that. I think the organization would even
Mm.
admit that. There are very few organizations that are run like the Dodgers and have everything that they have. We know that. Or would you rather the Dodgers just straight up sweep the D-backs and that brings them back down a little bit, boosts up the Rockies, and, again, increases the likelihood that come July, the D-backs aren't sitting there with a conundrum and a real in the middle of a pickle and going, hey, wait a minute, we're kind of in this thing. We're only a couple games back of the final wild card spot.
Mhm.
We might need to acquire players when really we were planning on trading guys and essentially tanking for the second half of the season. If they go ahead and win 4 games and beat the Dodgers, which is nice if you're hating on the Dodgers, but that could end up being bad for the Rockies in the grand scheme of things. It's hard to know what to root for.
Yeah, yeah. I guess like if I were to pick one of these in the would you rather, I might pick the Dodgers sweeping the D-backs so we can get the Rockies out of the basement eventually.
Yeah, that's right. Kale,
Yeah.
make a note here as the producer. We're going to clip this and send it over to the DNVR, or rather the PHNX Diamondbacks crew, showing that Susie wants the Dodgers in a 4-game sweep. This is where we edit. And now I'll say, yeah, I want the exact same thing too. But we're going to, where I said edit is where we are going to edit. I don't want those
We
guys
just
knowing
love
how I feel.
we love starting drama. We live for drama, Patrick especially, obviously. So here we go. Let's make some enemies with our colleagues.
Christian Walker has been a guy that I've enjoyed kind of from afar, and I think he had a down year last year, but was a guy who really wasn't getting any opportunities in Baltimore um, behind Chris Davis. There's a name for you. Back when Chris Davis was actually pretty good, and so finally the D-backs gave him a chance. He's got 7 home runs in May already. Has 12 home runs against the Dodgers since 2019, second most in baseball, behind Tatis Jr. So he's a guy that's contributing to this home run surge. D-backs already have 3 4-homer games. They had 2 all of last year, and again, we are basically at a third of the way through the season, so they are doing a lot more offensively, and their young guys are coming up. The Alec Thomases, Corbin Carrolls, man, they are going to be a pest for a while. So you know what? Let's keep them down a little while longer.
Yeah, they're not your grandparents' D-backs. Well, they're not the D-backs of last year. They are totally different. They're on a totally different wavelength this year.
Your grandparents' D-backs are literal Diamondbacks. Are literally something that you had to be a lot more cautious of, especially when you would wear cowboy hats. Oh, I thought we were going to be bringing it back. Just kidding. There they are. That's
There they
it.
are.
That's
Thank
it.
you,
Again,
Cal.
join in on the fun. We always have post-game shows on getaway days. This special Thursday night show was a special show. That's why I call it the special Thursday night show. But anytime there's a day game going down, Susie and I, maybe even Brendan Vogt, are going to be there. Next one, of course, will be on Sunday after the 11:35 game in the nation's capital. On Wednesday, June 1st, we're going to have a show there. It's going to be popping off still. We're going to be having a lot of fun. And look, if you're listening to this, you love the Rockies. And there are going to be those times with any team. And there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And people are starting to feel and think like, wait a minute, was I duped? Because I was really starting to believe that this team was legit and was totally different. And you know what? They still may be. We don't have enough evidence to know, but I understand that data. I understand that uncertainty, and why we go through those emotions and we go through the motions of trying to figure out if that's true or not. We're going to have some friggin' good times. That's
Yeah.
what we're going to do. We're going to do
Yeah.
it together. We're all going to have a good time.
Yeah. We're going to do our best, guys. That's all we can do. Well
Oh no,
said,
we're
Patrick.
definitely gonna be successful when it comes to fun.
Yes.
We are going to.
Never fail. Never fail.
Especially as we approach 1,000 shows. Folks, 1,000 shows. We should just say a bunch of names that we want to be on the 1,000th show just to see if we can make it happen.
What day do we hit the 1,000th show?
I would have to pull up the spreadsheet. No, there's no look. I love all my spreadsheets the same, so there's no the spreadsheet. I don't know. It's this summer, but we are getting very close to number 1,000. Can we get Larry Walker on? Maybe. Todd Helton? Maybe. Johan Flande? Definitely. Andres Galarraga? He won't talk to anybody.
No.
But we might get him. Maybe. Bud Black? A little bit easier.
I think we could get him.
We could.
We're gonna have to go all out. This is something we need to start planning now that you've like inserted this into my head.
We might. Yeah, we need at least a $10,000 budget for that one show.
All right.
Definitely. We're gonna blow it all on props though.
I need a new cowboy hat, obviously, because I left mine at the bar.
You need a home hat and a road hat. You left your other one at the studio. You need one at home.
I only have one.
All
but
right, so
Kale came through with the CGI.
That's it. Well, if we have the $10,000 budget, 5,000 is going to that hat, so you can have one at home. So that still leaves us with 5,000 for our 1,000th show. Well, it'll be popping off. We're gonna have fun all summer long, regardless. We want to see you at the ballpark too. That's another reason why you need to be a member at the DNVR.com. Now only 50 cents for your first month. Reach out to us in the members only Discord. I've had that happen numerous times. Of hey, are you at the ballpark today? Yeah, we're definitely there. But hey, I'm seated in this section. Well, come behind home plate. We'll come down from the press box. Come say hi to you. We do that kind of stuff all the time. So that's why you got to make sure that you're a member. And if you come down to the bar, you get a member-sized beer. Look, you can't miss out when you sign up and become a member to the DNVR.com. Follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. I'm at Patrick D. Lyons on Twitter.
I'm at the Suzie Hunter on all platforms.
And we have righted the ship. We've got some momentum on this show right now, but they also do say the only momentum you have is for your next show. Did I get that right? I didn't. Just go to the thing. Momentum show there.